Willem. How are you?
Hello, Romano. Good to see you.
Yes. Yes, so I'd just like to discuss the World Bonsai Day, and then I just want to talk a bit about the heritage collection, where it's moved to, and then just how it's going to influence the development of the trees, where it is currently and who's looking at it. So I just want to find out what your input is and how you looking at Japan, or not Japan Day, but World Bonsai Day. Sorry, I just got the two dates confused there.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful initiative started by Subaru Katu um, to develop friendships around bonsai. And I think he started it in 2010.
Yes.
And I was privileged to visit his garden in Japan um, on a tour just after he died. And his widow um, opened up the garden for bonsai enthusiasts from across the world. And it's a fantastic monument for someone's love of trees and building great friendships around small trees. And since then, every year we've commemorated this. And it's a great day to remember a visionary of bonsai who saw that it was not just about small artistic trees, but about friendship.
Yes.
So it's been celebrated in South Africa for a long time now. And now, with this COVID virus, it's unfortunate that we can't get together and have coffee, discuss trees, and just have a wonderful time. So today, across the world, lovers of bonsai will think of Katu and his wonderful legacy. Um, and I wish we could have more days like this.
Yes. Okay, so you mentioned that it's the day's been celebrated all around the world. When I spoke to you earlier, you mentioned that one of your trees has also been added onto a Facebook page of some of organization that's actually hosting a day on the internet. Can you just explain to us a bit more about that?
Yes, the California Bonsai Society in America, they decided to, as a celebration of bonsai across the world on this special day, asked people to from different countries to post their trees, and they so anyone could post, and I thought to post it on the South African Bonsai Association uh, Facebook page and invite people from our country to post. And then when I saw it was a bit slow, I thought, let me send in one of my own trees, um, a comifera, which I thought would be not well known across the world, but it's a lovely South African tree.
Yes.
And lo and behold, it was immediately posted, and can't believe how many likes I had.
Wow.
So the special thing about this is people, normally people just like something or someone says, I hate it or whatever.
Yes.
How many people I've met across the world, bonsai friends, posted there, not just about the tree, but to say, hello, Willem, how are you guys in South Africa?
Wow.
And I think that symbolizes the value of this day.
Okay. Yes. And then you mentioned that there was a forest planted by the World Bonsai Friendship Federation. I think it was in 2015. Can you just tell us a bit more about that tree and how that project came about?
So in 2015, we had the Africa Bonsai Convention, the fourth one, and it was held in Stellenbosch. And it was the first time that the World Bonsai Friendship Federation, their board, met in Africa, specifically in South Africa, Stellenbosch. And we thought of how we could make this really special. And the idea came about that we would um, plant a friendship forest.
Yes.
And we asked all the directors of the WBFF, as well as the mayor of Stellenbosch, who's just passed away, Conrad Sidego, to plant a tree in a friendship forest. And that is now hosted in the South African Bonsai Heritage Collection in the Botanical Garden.
Yes.
And I must say, it's developing very nicely. And it's one of those projects that you hope in 100 years' time will symbolize what wonderful um, bonsai friends we have across the world.
Okay. You mentioned the South African Heritage Bonsai Collection now. So there was an article posted that commemorated the your appointment to the vice president of African Bonsai Association, and they briefly mentioned about the heritage collection being moved. Can you just tell us a bit more about that?
So, Romano, maybe if I can just go back slightly,
Okay, cool.
the
No,
the
all good.
the photo you see there now is after the collection was moved to the beautiful wine farm Babylon Storen outside Stellenbosch. And Ernst van Jaarsveld on the left there, he used to be the curator at Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens. And one of the uh, very knowledgeable helpers at Babylon Storen, Nico, is standing there just after we unloaded the collection there. And I'll get into the care of that just now. But just to say, it was quite a crisis when we suddenly had this lockdown. And one of the first places who informed us that they would be locked down was the Botanical Garden in Stellenbosch. And they also said that um, because of the restrictions,
Yes.
there could be no guarantees that the trees would be looked after or watered. And it's quite a crisis,
Yes.
because this is the largest and oldest bonsai public heritage collection in Africa.
Wow.
And some of the first documented bonsai in Africa are hosted there. There are pines from Becky Lucas, the mother of bonsai in South Africa,
Yes.
that date from 1940. So can you imagine this collection, invaluable collection,
Sure.
a cultural jewel, going without water indefinitely? We didn't know then how long the lockdown would last.
Yes.
So it was quite a crisis, and the curator um, asked a lot of bonsai enthusiasts if they were prepared to host, say, four of the historical trees
Yes.
each and look after them during lockdown. And I just thought it was totally impractical. And because it was on such short notice to get, remember, we're talking about 160 plus trees.
Wow.
And so, to get how many times four people going to, four trees going into how many people?
That's
I
about
can't do
40,
the sums.
40 plus people, yeah.
And they would have about one day to come from different parts in the Western Cape to pick up the trees. So logistically, it was a nightmare. And also, you wouldn't have a database of how experienced those people were.
Yes.
They didn't know the history of the trees,
Yes.
and different species have different care.
Yes.
So luckily, I was on my way to the Northern Cape with Ernst van Jaarsveld to go rock hunting. And so I phoned him and I said, Aaron's, on the way back, we will be stopped in some roadblock and we'd be jailed. So why don't we move the bonsai and divert the truck to the botanical garden? And he said, yes, of course, fantastic. So because he's also a bonsai lover and he's got
Okay.
beautiful bonsai. And so I just contacted the curator and I said, we've got a plan. And another nursery, um, Stephen LaRue's Stone Lantern Nursery, also offered that we could host the collection there.
Yes.
So next day, truck at the botanical garden, four of us, we loaded all the bonsai and took them to Babylon Sturen, where they're now hosted in the Clivia House.
Okay.
And they watered by professional people. And I'm quite happy that they will survive this terrible time.
Okay. No, that sounds great. I just wanted to find out quickly. So, if any tree requires repotting or any other specific um, needs, are they equipped to handle that? Have they stocked up on soils, for instance, if it needs repotting? Because it looks like this lockdown is going to be for quite a few more months. So, what's the long-term plan for hosting the trees where they are now?
Yes, so luckily we most of the species will not need repotting before springtime.
Okay.
So we've got quite a few months, and a lot of them have been repotted recently.
Okay.
So the repotting is not a big issue.
Okay.
Watering, it's one of those things where you think, how lucky can we be? In January, we had a big bonsai exhibition at Babylon Store,
Okay.
where we had about 80 trees, and I gave the personnel there a course on how to water and care for bonsai.
Yes.
So this was a God sent uh, happening.
Yes. Okay. Wow. So
So
everything
those
just fell
same
into
people
place.
now, yes, those same people will now look after the trees. And Ernst van Jaarsveld is really a cultural jewel. He knows more about trees than most people, and he goes in to check on everything. So some of the trees will grow and will not be pruned now, but I'm not worried that they will lose their shape or go completely wild. And sometimes, I think it's like an athlete. Um, Sometimes they need to rest. And I think giving the bonsai a rest from current, often being pruned is also a good thing. Um, and hopefully, um, this lockdown won't last till end of the year. But I'll also be going as the different
Okay. No, it sounds good. Um,
group of volunteers, and we'll just see if something intervention will do it.
okay. No, that sounds real good.
Hello, Romano.
I just wanted to find out a bit more. Sorry, I see your videos just stalling a bit. Okay, it's back now. Sorry about that. I just wanted to find out a bit more about projects that you did. Now, you mentioned moving the heritage garden over. I just wanted, there's two photos that you sent me that I would just like you to just talk briefly about as we're almost ending the interview. So I just wanted to find out a bit more about the exhibition you did at Quinn Rock.
That beautiful wine estate outside Stellenbosch, Quinn Rock.
Yes.
Beginning of 2019, I selected trees the enclosure is glass, so there's enough light. We worked on this and um, put some black band. They love it, and Dennis, the husband, he says it's his favorite place to unwind. So I'm lucky. I'm glad I could do something to make their world more calm and give them some oasis in their busy lives.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the last project I just wanted to find out a bit more
And
about
then the
was
last
just
project I just wanted to find out a bit more about
the
was
Rhodes
just the
University display that you did.
Yes, so um, Rhodes University in Makanda, previously known as Grahamstown, they approached me, the Confucius Institute there, and because they'd seen work that I'd done at the entrance to the botanical garden, and they wanted me to do something original for them. Um, and it was quite a challenge because Makanda was gripped in one of the worst droughts that they've known. So when I flew up and um, scouted the site, I just saw the biggest problem there was you could create a beautiful garden, but the problem was that it would be dead in a few months because
Yes.
of the water
yes,
shortage. So I decided it's an old concept that bonsai people across the world know. In China, it's called ganji,
Okay.
the love of rocks, artistic rocks,
Yes.
and
yes,
in Japanese. And we at our shows yearly we have a suiseki exhibition.
Yes.
yes,
Rock collectors across the world. And I know Tom Elias, who is the American, who is chair of the Rock and Stone Appreciation Society. And I scouted around in the hills of Makanda until I found rocks that were beautiful and excavated the site and created this rock garden. And why it's called the Garden for Contemplation,
Okay. Oh,
it is
very
at
nice.
the
Okay.
where the philosophy department and the Confucius Institute meets. So there is a sitting rock where you can contemplate the garden and see how the light moves throughout the day, create interesting shadows, and just appreciate beautiful rocks.
Okay. Wow.
okay.
Willem, thank you very much
Wow.
for taking the time out of your
Willem,
busy
thank you very
schedule
much for
just to be part
taking
of
the
this live
time
stream.
out of your busy
I'm going
schedule
to close off with a video
just
that
to be part of
you
this
sent me.
live